Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, hey, my name is Tiffany and I post product research content. If you've been laid off once and thought, okay, that was rough, but I've survived, imagine getting laid off again, and that was me. About a month ago, after my second tech layoff, I honestly didn't know what was next for me. I really felt lost. I was unsure if I was even marketable anymore, honestly, but somehow I ended up landing a role that actually fits where I am right now, just 1 month after my layoff, and in a consultant role. So I'm really excited and happy about it. And I want to start by being real. After the second layoff, I really had a lot of feelings. There was a lot of embarrassment, a lot of exhaustion, and honestly, a lot of fear too, because I didn't want to be labeled as that girl that gets laid off every once in a while. And I really felt like I was one. And I felt a lack of sense of security in job and in life, because people do advise not to define yourself with a job. But after all, if your day-to-day lacks that sense of security, as in I don't know what I'm aiming for, I don't know what is next for me, you lose a sense of yourself, like a definition of yourself and your identity almost. As much as I don't want to define my identity with a career or with a job title or with a 9 to 5, that's my honest feelings. And I kept thinking, do I even belong in tech anymore? I was applying to jobs, but everything felt really cold. The market was super quiet for a long time. The roles were disappearing mid-interviews. I started to question if I needed to completely reinvent my career, because tech just felt so cool to me and to everybody else. Everything is going to be about the profit, the success of the company. And what they say is, when you're not directly impacting the profitability of the company, even if you are working towards that profitability, if you're not the first-handed impact of the profitability, you're next on the list of the people who do get laid off. Maybe a part of having shared my experience on YouTube too, people started telling me that tech is no longer the place to be in, that I need to pivot, product researcher is not valuable enough for companies to even keep in this economy. If you saw comments from these layoff videos, including mine, you might have also felt that, hey, maybe I'm in the wrong place. Maybe I need to look for something else. Look, I'm super still very, very open to career exploration. I'm not dismissing those thoughts and advice, but I also wanted to try as much as I could in this field, because as nerdy as it sounds, I believe in the value of product research, genuinely, like deep down from my heart. I believe in the thoughtful expertise of research rather than everyone and anyone in the product team doing testing without intentionality or rigor or expertise. But at the same time, there's got to be teams that value UX research as much as I do, right? So I took a step back from myself in giving myself a timeline. I was like, hey, I'm going to give myself 1 month. I know it's going to be super tight deadline, but I had shared that I had made financial commitments. I have a mortgage to pay, which everybody wants to criticize about. But yeah, personally, I wanted to enjoy my life too. I wanted to enjoy my hobbies. I wanted to enjoy my quality time with my family and friends. And oftentimes, you can't do that without spending money and without having money, as much as I don't want to admit it. And I personally didn't want to be in the scenario where I was job hunting for an extended period of time for the right job, because I knew, knowing my personality, that it was going to impact my well-being. So I asked myself, hey, what if I'm looking really too narrowly? After my previous layoff, I really only looked at full-time roles with standard titles in tech industry, But yeah, this time around, once my second layoff hit, I started opening up to other types of work, because I knew that full-time gigs are just there isn't enough of a full-time gigs for many of us to be considered. And that's when I started opening up to contract and consulting roles too. So I started looking into industries outside of the standard tech industry as well. Previously, I was looking at AI related roles, standard hardcore tech companies. And even though I've gotten messages from recruiting agencies in the past about contract roles or consulting roles, however you call it. In the past, those almost felt like my last resorts. They didn't really have the same long-term security in my head, and sure, that's still the case, but honestly, in the market that we're living in right now, like, what security, even for full-time roles, right? The previous 2 roles that I got laid off from were full-time roles, and I was impacted easily. So I started by responding to old messages from recruiters about short-term contracts or freelance gigs or consultant roles, and even roles that didn't quite match my previous titles but still kind of aligned with my experience. And funny story, one of the hiring managers saw my YouTube video about my layoff and reached out via email, which turned into a series of interviews. And that was when I realized, hey, you really need to get yourself out there, because there are people who reach out looking at your videos, looking at your LinkedIn posts, looking at your even Instagram posts, whatever you post, and get yourself out there. You get the exposure, and you might get the opportunity that you never would have imagined having. For those of you who might consider yourself a little bit more junior and feel like you don't get enough opportunities as people who are in the senior roles like myself, my biggest recommendation is to always count your internship experience, freelance gigs, volunteer experience as a part of your years of experience. Even if you were a student while you were doing some pro bono internship, count it, because recruiters look up years of experience and industries of experience. And one example of that, I put AI in my profile description on LinkedIn because the last place that I was in was an AI startup, and that helped my profile get in the result of the recruiters' candidate searches. So I got a bunch of messages from recruiters about doing research in the AI experience, in the AI space. Yeah, it seems like that's one of the ways that recruiters like to search for people, and SEO apparently is very important. I think what's really helped me keep up my enthusiasm and motivation in the job hunting experience this time around was that the most of the places that I've interviewed with were either consulting roles or contract roles or startups. And with that, their interview process was much, much shorter. I was also a part of the interview process for a couple of like really large tech full-time roles, and it was extremely demotivating because they would put you in so many rounds of interviews, and at the end of that, they wouldn't give you feedback. They just give you, hey, we regret to let you know, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, and one experience I interviewed at was TikTok, and the interviews really went really well, honestly. I connected with the interviewers really well, except they thought I was Chinese and had me do the interviews in Chinese. And I was like, I'm not Chinese. I can't speak Chinese. And they cut me off in the next round. And one day I saw a consulting opportunity that honestly sounded too good to be true. It wasn't posted anywhere. It came through a LinkedIn message from a recruiting agency, and they needed somebody who could jump in really fast, someone who has e-com experience that I did. And yeah, a lot of the searches, it seems to be, is like years of experience and then industry of experience. And then you get into the interview rounds and they check like what you've done and what kind of work you've done that relates to the current role that they're hiring for. And after 3 rounds of really quick interviews that all happened in like a week and a half, I believe, I got the offer. And that's why everything happened so fast, and I ended up getting a role in like a month. Honestly, like now that I've started that role, it gave me a routine in my day. It really gave me a peace of mind because larger enterprises have better resourcing than startups, and it gave me my hobbies back. It gave me my workout classes back. And I found a team that's really supportive and resourceful and really professional and kind, which I'm really, really thankful for. But because this is a consultant role, I know that's, maybe it could end. Maybe I need to find something else. So now that I've gone through 2 layoffs in a row and landed a role that so far I'm really loving, I want to make sure that I'm prepared 3 different ways. 1, my heart. Prepare and gear up my heart so that I don't get hurt if anything comes my way and layoff happens. I just want to like keep myself aware that the market that we're in it's just what it is. It is just what it is. And I just need to be prepared like emotionally that something can happen. And then second, financially, I started putting a portion of my weekly paycheck, because I've been getting, as a consultant, I've been getting a weekly paycheck, a portion of that into a separate, like a whole new savings account that is only for my particular career. So if anything happens, it's separate from our emergency fund, but if anything happens, I have that extra cushion so that I don't feel like I'm fearing for my life whenever a layoff happens. Because previously, like once the second layoff hit, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Like, we bought a house, we have financial commitment, like what are we gonna do? So I remember being really panicky then, but we want to avoid that from happening again. So I started doing that. And then third, I plan to keep my resume and my portfolio completely updated every single couple of weeks. Because, with the consulting role, like anything can really happen. And I want to be prepared for that. So continuing to make sure that like I dedicate time for my portfolio and my resume in case anything happens, that would be key. So yeah, that is my takeaway as I wrap up my second layoff and go off to a new role, which I'm really thankful for and excited about as well. If you are watching this and are in between jobs, especially after a layoff or 2 or 3, please know that you are super valuable. Your next opportunity might not look the way you've imagined, and mine didn't, but sometimes expanding your Why? No one's here. Sometimes expanding your definition of work, whether it be like consulting role, contract role, freelance role, part-time role, in an industry and a job title that's not conventional, that could potentially open up doors that you didn't even know existed. I am not saying that it's easy. I certainly realize that it's not an easy journey after a layoff. And I also realize that it's especially so challenging for those who are fresh grads or those with junior level experience. It's so difficult. But I highly recommend looking at contract roles. They pay well on an hourly basis. They're structured in a 6-month or 1-year contract, which are better than most full-time roles, to be honest, in giving a sense of job security, I think. And if you need to, you can also look for a role while you're in contract roles too. So you will also get experience in larger companies, which is also helpful for your career in general too. There's really no harm in getting into contract roles, to be honest, from my experience. If you ever need recommendations connecting you to recruiting firms, let me know how I can help. It's truly not easy, but if you are still in between jobs, I really feel you. I hope you are hanging in there just as I was. I still am. Sending hugs your way, and I'll see you in the next video.